And hello YouTube, this is GSmaniamsmart, and I'm today on a brand new video for Gaming with GS. Today I want to talk to you guys about Guild Wars 2 and sort of a follow-up video of yesterday's video. If you haven't seen yesterday's video, it was basically a discussion on the so-called quote-unquote content drought that has been floating around that we may be in, and whether it's killing the game. Now, I expected this video to be very controversial, and it was. We have quite a few dislikes, quite a number of likes. So, but controversial is good, mainly because it brings a lot of comments, it brings a lot of discussion, and I like discussion. I like a lot of comments. You know, I get to talk to all of you guys, and we all get to talk to each other and sort of discuss an important issue to us, and it really helps us understand the game better. It helps us understand the player base better, and what each of us wants. So as long as we all stay civil in these discussions, I think it's great. I love it, and I'm glad that a lot of you enjoyed yesterday's video. I do know that some of you, just used it to while you were farming in game. You were listening to it. So today's video is going to be similar like that. We're going to do a follow-up discussion because I feel like I have a lot to say still, and I do want to follow up with it. Some of the things that I may want to rephrase, and I do want to bring up another important topic that may be of your interest, and especially if you're a new player or you haven't been playing the game for very long, or you sort of agreed with the video that I did yesterday where you felt like you didn't know what to do in the game. I sort of want to touch on that because I have noticed this problem. So one thing I'm going to start off to say is that in yesterday's video, I did say something that I wish I would have phrased a little better, and I wish I would have thought about it a little more. In yesterday's video, I basically said that veteran players don't really have much to do because they've already pretty much done it all. And I've realized that yes, the people in that specific category, those who have their legendary already, those who have the majority of the achievements done, those people in that category, those who have beaten the raids already, and those people in that category who also don't like to constantly repeat content, I would say for that group of people, the game may be in a little of a dry state. However, as I was reading through the comments and as I was talking to all of you guys, I definitely realized something that I should have realized, or I think I did realize, but I didn't word it correctly in the video. And it's the fact that the problem isn't really veteran players versus new players. That's not really the problem. And I don't know if I addressed that properly in the video. It seems to me more like it's hardcore players versus casual players. That's sort of what's causing this problem. And it's mainly because the Heart of Thorns expansion pack focused so heavily on hardcore content, on end game content, on the people, who've been playing the game for a very long time and who've been wanting end game for a very long time and who've been wanting challenges for a very long time. I mean, as soon as you step into Heart of Thorns, you're basically greeted with a giant event that's on a timer, and every other map after that has a similar thing. You don't really have much time to explore the map at your leisure, and you sort of are a little bit not forced to do the events, but highly encouraged, especially, since a lot of people on that map are doing the event. Not only that, but raids were featured. Obviously, the content in these new Heart of Thorns maps is very different and a lot more challenging than content in the regular core Tyria maps. I mean, I can guarantee you, as soon as I walked into Heart of Thorns the first day, not having any experience playing it, I was like, "Whoa, my Ellie is getting wrecked on here. What is this?" Obviously, the more I went in and the more I ventured around, the better I got. And now when I go in, I can pretty much, I'm pretty okay. But, some people still have some difficulty with it. I know that sometimes I'm walking through, what's the map called? Auric Basin still. And I see those little graveling things in the floor. I forget what they're called. What are they called? The reptiles that, attack you very quickly. And if you don't have, tanky armor or survivability, you're basically dead in seconds. I forget what they're called now, but you know what I'm talking about if you've been there. So the expansion pack really revolved a lot around endgame and bringing a lot more challenging content and bringing a lot more for hardcore players to do, because you're gonna be doing the raids a lot. You're gonna want to get legendary gear, the new legendary quests. They're very long, time consuming. It requires a lot of effort. And one thing I do want to say is that I'm glad that all these things were implemented into the game, because it gives us a lot to do. But the problem is, and I think this is what I didn't mention in the video yesterday, is that ArenaNet focused so heavily on the hardcore players and the players who wanted challenging endgame, and there wasn't really much focus on casual players. I mean, take Guildhall building for example. That could have been something that casual players could have done, but it's really not a casual experience, because you need to have a lot of gold and you need to have a lot of time investment to get a lot of materials for scribing. It isn't really casual. Some of the new maps could have been made a little more casual by not having events constantly rotate. Actually have a time where maybe monsters aren't spamming everywhere and you can actually walk around a bit. Something like that could have been implemented, where there's a rotation of right now we're in a peaceful state and then maybe an hour later the event starts again. But that wasn't really implemented as well. Much of the expansion content really revolved around a sort of stressful gameplay for those who didn't really want to have that type of gameplay. And we noticed this when they added these little mini games, adventures, which was a casual form of gameplay. I love the adventures. They're really fun to play. I really enjoyed them. And a lot of my casual friends really liked them as well. But the problem is that you sort of felt pressured to complete them as quickly as possible, because as soon as the event starts, then you're like, okay, well, the adventure is now locked off and you can't do it anymore. So I do know they have addressed that a little bit. But you can just look at small little things like that and you can clearly see that the expansion pack is heavily driven to satisfy those players who want endgame content, who want hardcore and challenging content. And that's sort of the issue we're having now. And personally, I think it's okay for ArenaNet to do that, because if you think about it, for the past few years that Guild Wars 2 has been out, they've really only been focusing on the casual players. I mean, we've had personal story updates, we've had living world story updates, we've had a few new maps included, we've had lots of quality of life updates and changes. A lot of these things that ArenaNet has implemented and updated for the past few years, festivals, all that stuff is really, casual play. I mean, what did hardcore players and what did people who wanted challenging content really do for the past few years? Well, they basically tried to speed run dungeons. That was their challenge. Or they tried to get the highest level fractals. That was their challenge. Or they tried to, get their legendary weapon, which required a lot of gold and a lot of grind. That was basically their challenge. There was never, a challenge that was set forth from the developers that was like, okay, here's your hardcore challenge, like raids. Here's your hardcore challenge, like doing the meta events a bunch of times to get, a specific armor set. Here's your challenge of completing a legendary quest, which takes lots of time and lots of effort and lots of materials. Here's your challenge of completing a guild hall that requires lots of gold and lots of people to cooperate. Those people who wanted that hardcore challenging content never got it. And I mean, if you think about it, put yourself in the shoes of someone who wants that type of content. Put yourself in the shoes of someone who thinks the game is too easy and is not keeping them entertained enough because everything's too easy. You would feel pretty bored too. So I think it was okay for ArenaNet to focus on this expansion on hardcore players and on bringing more challenging content, but I do feel like there really wasn't enough attention paid to the casual players, because now, I feel like a lot of people who are complaining about that there's a content drought, there's not much new stuff to do, these people that are complaining are mainly the casual players, I think, because a person who's a hardcore Guild Wars 2 player and who wants to get all the best stuff, and you know, who wants these challenges to defeat and to achieve these challenges, you know, I don't think many of them mind grinding. You know, these people who want to be completionists, you know, I don't think they mind the grind. I don't think they mind the raids. You know, they like to invest a lot of time into the game because they have a lot of time. But for some of the, you know, others who don't have a lot of time, who may play the game at a more relaxed pace, Heart of Thorns is very daunting to them. And I think that's the problem there. And you can't entirely blame the developers because, you know, it's like I said, you know, it's very hard to keep such a large community of people happy all at the same time. I know one of you in the comments section said that, you know, it doesn't matter what MMO you look at. And this was actually a new player, and you know, he commented saying, or she commented saying, I can't remember, apologies, but one of the comments said that it doesn't matter what MMO I go to, there's always a group of people complaining about something. And it's true. I mean, even, you know, back when we got lots of Living World story updates, a lot of people were saying, oh, we want hardcore content, oh, we want raids, when are we going to get, you know, an expansion and stuff like that. And those were probably a lot of people who wanted challenging content. And now that they have that challenging content, well, they're not talking anymore. They're fine. They're happy with what they got. Now it's the people who, you know, want more casual play. They're the ones talking now. So it's very hard for, you know, developers to satisfy everyone in their community. It's very hard to do that. And, you know, as a YouTuber myself, I can completely relate to that because, you know, when I make a video, I remember I made one gold video that a lot of people just didn't like. A lot of people didn't like that gold video because it seemed very risky and very inefficient. But then a lot of other people like the method because they like the fact that it was risky, and they like the fact that, you know, you could make lots of profit out of it. So, you know, it is hard to keep everyone happy, and I think that's something we need to keep in mind, that ArenaNet, even right now, they've split their team up very specifically and tried to even out the teams to sort of bring content out for both the groups, which I think is a good idea. And, you know, this has been a recent move from them, so I think we need to give them a little more time to, you know, actually finish something so they can release it. Maybe I'm being too optimistic. I don't know. I'm just, you know, I read all your comments. I understood a little bit more about what you guys wanted, what you guys were saying. You can look at the comments section yourself if you'd like. There's a lot of information there, a lot of good discussion there. Highly encourage you to check it out. Personally, for me, you know, I'm pretty much happy with whatever comes into the game. As long as something's coming into the game and it's not being abandoned and like there's no work being done, I'm happy with it. But I feel like, you know, I heard a lot of the complaining. I saw a lot of videos being made about it, and, you know, I felt empathy for them. I was able to put myself in their shoes and be like, yeah, you know, I guess that's right. I can understand your point. I can understand that you're a small guild, and, you know, it sucks that you don't have all these resources to gather all this gold and all these, you know, materials, and it's sort of very discouraging. I can understand that. Or, you know, I saw another person say that, you know, I can't do raids. I'm not, you know, a very good player. I don't understand my class very much, so, you know, it sucks that I can't do raids, and I don't have a lot of time to play in the game, but I still want to enjoy raids, but I can't. You know, I could understand that. I could understand that, you know, maybe raids aren't as accessible. Or, you know, I saw a lot of comments like that on, like, different videos, and I saw some stuff on Reddit, and, you know, that was the main basis behind the video, and I guess, well, now we've all discovered, and, you know, we've seen that it's really the clash of two groups of not veterans, you see, I'm getting myself confused again. It's really the clash of two groups of hardcore players versus casuals, and, you know, it's something very difficult to balance. But, you know, one thing I also saw a lot in the comments section was, well, not a lot, but, you know, it's something I've seen reoccurring. I've seen it over the past few years I've been playing this game. I've seen a lot of people say that they don't know what to do in the game. And this is sort of what I want to, you know, focus this video on. I know we just spent, like, you know, how long is it? We just spent the last, I don't know, 13 minutes talking about a follow-up of last video. But I sort of wanted to focus on this specific topic for this video. Is, you know, if you don't know what to do when playing Guild Wars 2, you need to figure out what type of player you are. Because while there is a lot to do in Guild Wars 2, I feel like a lot of players are just not guided enough to know what there is to do. I feel like a lot of players know that there's dungeons to do, that there's fractals to do, that there's ascended to do, that there's legendary to do, that there's raids to do, that there's meta events to do, that there's map completion to do, PvP, WvD. You can keep on listing more and more and more. You know, gear sets, armor sets, you know, skins, all this stuff you could list and list and list. I feel like a lot of people know that's there, but they just don't know how to do it. They don't know where to start. They don't have the guidance. And, you know, I can see that as somewhat of a problem because I've played other games, and, you know, other games really, they encourage you and they guide you to do certain things. Like, for example, crafting. Guild Wars 2 really doesn't guide you towards crafting. There's no quest, there's no NPC, there's no mail that says, or at least I've never run across a piece of mail that told me. I mean, I've started playing a long time ago, so I can't even remember there was, but I don't remember ever seeing, you know, someone guiding me towards crafting and saying, here, I want you to craft this and that for this quest or for this heart or, you know, for this story mission, and you get introduced to crafting. You know, a lot of people probably don't even craft, or, you know, some don't even bother to craft. I know one of my friends doesn't even craft because he doesn't know how to craft and doesn't want to craft, even though it's very easy, but the game just never really guided you there. The same with legendaries. You know, before the mastery system, a lot of people never were guided to legendaries. I mean, there was no NPC telling them, oh, you can craft your legendary if you do this and that and this and that, you know. Same with fractals. I don't think I remember ever getting, you know, a fractal mail saying, oh, fractals are something you can do. Maybe I did. I can't really remember. But, you know, you can apply this to a lot of things. There's a lot of things in Guild Wars 2 that really aren't guiding players to do it, because they want to have this experience for you to explore the world and to find things out on your own. And that's fine. I like that. You know. People who like the game and who want to explore the game will find these cool, neat things to do, and they'll do them. But I think, you know, a lot of people like direction too. And Guild Wars 2 doesn't really have that good direction. When it comes to personal story, when it comes to dungeons, they did a very good job by sending you a mail and saying, you know, here's what you can do. If you click the little button at the bottom here, show me, it shows you where to go. You know, I think it's definitely improved in giving players direction, but I do still think a lot of people just don't have goals. They don't have goals, they don't know what to do, and, well, that's sort of why people feel like there's nothing to do in the game, because they don't really have the goals. They don't really know how to get started. They don't know what type of Guild Wars 2 player they are. So what I wanted to do is basically give you a list of, you know, types of Guild Wars 2 players. And I actually remember some of these. Some of these I remember from a video that I watched. I can't remember which YouTuber it was, but they basically had a list of types of Guild Wars 2 players. Some of these I've just come up on my own because I felt like they fit very well into it. But I'm going to go down the list of which type of Guild Wars 2 player you are and basically what they're all about. And perhaps, you know, if you're one of those people who doesn't really know what to do in the game, maybe this will help you out, and, you know, it'll show you that if you're this specific type of player, then you should be doing this specific type of content to sort of achieve that. So the first one we have is the Achiever. And this person is basically someone who wants to get all the achievement points, who wants to, you know, complete the game to it's pretty much to its maximum completionist. This person will try to get all the achievements in PvP, in World vs. World, you know, in PvE, in the living world. You know, if you're that type of person, well, then there's plenty for you to do. Just open up your achievements panel and start looking through the achievements, and you could earn a lot of easy ones. I think while it doesn't have the best guidance, sometimes you may be a bit confused, you can always use the wiki and look up some of the achievements and see how to do them if you're lost and confused. But if you're someone like that who wants to be this completionist or this achiever, then there's a lot for you to do, and, you know, just if you look at the achievements panel, you'll see it. The next person I want to go over is the Explorer, and this person sort of searches the world and tries to discover everything the world has to offer, hidden rooms, little secrets, you know, just little mini games that you just run across. Like, you know, I ran across Belcher's Bluff the other day. that I didn't even know existed. I know, pretty sad. I didn't know existed it. But if you're one of those people who likes to just explore the world, then maybe do map completion, do all the dungeons to see all the areas. Try to go into the raid once just to see. You don't need to do the actual raid, but you can just go into the raid and try to explore the area. You can always bring a group in with you and look around in the raid. There's a lot for you to do if you're an explorer. Just go to each map and just take some time to explore and find some cool stuff. There's there's huge amounts of space in Guild Wars to discover, and a lot of these places have like hidden chests and all this cool stuff, jumping puzzles. There's a lot to do. Next person I want to go over is the grinder, or the person who wants to farm for a lot of gold, farm for rewards, try to get lots of exotics, or wants to farm silver waste constantly to make a bunch of gold. If you're a person like that, then I think we all know pretty much what you gotta do. The meta events, constantly do the meta events, constantly do world boss trains, constantly do silver waste chest trains, silver waste regular events. Then we have the next type player would be the killer, which is this PvP warlord, or this world versus world commander that you want to be. If you're that type of person, you may want to specialize in a build, or you may want to specialize in a bunch of builds. And, for that specific, you may want to look at different stats, experiment with different stat types, try to go out in the world and test out different gear sets, go into PvP, test out different gear sets, go into World vs. World, try to learn the map a bit, try to take some friends with you to command them around, steal some camps. World vs. World is really fun. I commanded a little bit on the Stormbluff Isle server, not a lot, because I don't know the Eternal Battlegrounds map very well, but the old Borderland maps where your server is Borderlands were, I knew a lot about that, and I did a lot of not a lot of commanding, but once in a while I would command, and it was fun. I liked it. It was I had a really cool build. I led a bunch of people like an army. It was cool. So if you want to be that type of person, if you want to be the warlord, I guess you could say, if you want to be a warlord in PvP, or you want to be a warlord in World vs. World, take a look at some gear sets, take a look at some builds, try to perfect your build. That's for you to do there. We have the fashion collector, if you also known as fashion wars. If you like to make your character look really cool, have a specific theme, for my wizard, I like to have a very wizard looking, elegant, protector of the people type of wizard. That's why I wear blue and white and have this wizard hat and have this white staff. I love it. If you're one of those people, try to collect all the skins. Try to have each one of your characters have a specific theme. Try to get a specific skin that fits your character's playstyle. If you're a warrior, do you want to be this barbaric or ruthless warrior and get this evil looking gear that just makes you very fearsome, or do you want to be a knight in shining armor and be a very protecty type of warrior? Then we have the trader, who basically just likes to play the trading post and analyze the market, and just that is the game for them. I know people who just play Guild Wars 2 for the trading post. That is the game for them. The game is the trading post. And if you're that type of person, analyze the market, look at different websites, just try to invest in materials, invest in different items. If you're that type of person, then do that. If you're the storyteller and you want to collect a lot of lore, you want to collect all different bits of story, you want to learn about the game, do the renowned hearts, do each of the living world story updates, maybe use your gold to buy, or use some gems to buy the living world season 2, watch some videos about living world season 1. Obviously do the Heart of Thorns story. If you want to do that type of stuff, try to do all the dungeons at least once, do the fractals all at least once, try to get each bit of dialogue you can get, and that'll basically be your little storytelling. There's a lot of lore in Guild Wars 2. There's a lot of events you can do, a lot of dialogue from NPCs you can pay attention to. So if you're that person, then there's a lot for you to do there too. And then lastly, we have the community type of person, the person who likes to socialize a lot, who likes to make guilds, who likes to organize guild events, the person who likes to help other people. If you're, I know some people who are mesmers, and they'll be at joint puzzle and they'll just help other people get the joint puzzle. That's really kind. Or, you know, some people who just like to help with dungeons, or like to make a lot of friends and get people into their guild, lead a guild, create a guild hall together. If you're that type of person, then focus a little more on the community. Focus around maybe joining a TeamSpeak server or stuff like that. There's a lot with the community in this game. You can even, now with guild halls, you can even create your own little mini games, your own little mazes, own little tournaments, matches, all that kind of stuff. So those are basically, I think, the top 8. I went over the storyteller, trader, fashion collector, the warlord, killer person, explorer, the grinder, the achiever, and the community social type of person. I think it's important to find what kind of player you are. And once you find what kind of player you are, I think it'll be easier for you to, you know, find a goal. And I think a lot of people just don't think about it like that. A lot of people just, you know, go into the game and they're like, okay, I want to have some fun. But, you know, Guild Wars 2 is very different from all the other MMOs. There's a lot to do in the game, and sometimes it can be very overwhelming. Sometimes you go into the game and you're like, I don't know what to do. I've seen it several times where people tell me, I like the game, I really like the game, I just don't know what to do. And I basically tell them the same thing. I'll be like, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to be a person who likes to do challenging content? You better make some ascended gear, maybe. Do you want to be a person who likes to explore a lot? Do map completion, maybe. But you have to figure out what type of player you are, and then from there on, then you can start looking at some goals you want to achieve, and then you can start creating a playstyle for yourself and start seeing different things that you can do to make the game fun for you. So I think that's really important, and it's not like Guild Wars 2 doesn't have a lot to offer. You know, I saw a lot of comments of people saying, oh, what are you talking about? Guild Wars 2 has so much content. I don't think you did this. I don't think you did that. And I think they sort of missed the point of the video. You know, I definitely wasn't saying that Guild Wars 2 is lacking content. There's a lot of content. And I think, you know, that's why this video is sort of a follow-up, because I feel like there's a lot I didn't mention in that video. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. We're running pretty long on time here. I think we're at like near to 30 minutes. So hopefully it's helped you out. Hopefully, you know, it gave you a better perspective. Hopefully you understand the whole situation a bit more. If you guys want to continue to talk about this subject, you can either leave more comments in this video. I love to hear from you guys. It's really cool talking to all of you. It really makes my day. I love to talk to people. So I guess I'm sort of like the socializing community person. Personally, I'm like a mix of all these. I really don't like the trader. I mean, doing the whole trading post stuff is sort of annoying to me a little bit. I really like the storyteller. I like collecting lots of bits of story. I was a real Final Fantasy RPG person, so I definitely like the story a lot. I like to explore a lot. I like achieving sometimes. If I really want to set my motive to that, I can really do that. But I'm more of like, I like fashion collect. I like to make my characters around a theme, you know. So that's sort of me. But if you want to go ahead and leave what type of player you are down in the comments, or you want to continue talking about Guild Wars 2 and what your opinions are on it, you can leave a comment on this video or the other video. I'll definitely be replying to all your comments as usual. And that's pretty much for this video. I'm going to be continuing to making Guild Wars 2 content that's not revolved around, you know, just me talking. Yeah, I know a lot of you guys like it, so we'll definitely do a lot more of this. Thank you for the support and telling me that, you know, you guys like this type of content. So yeah, I'm not so, you know, skeptical of whether to upload something like this or not. But hopefully you enjoyed watching me do the dailies and me trying to find the way up to that Vista in Malcor's Leap. I don't know what's wrong with me. I couldn't find the way up. Maybe someone could tell me in the comments section. It would be really cool. Maybe I should look up a YouTube video. Thank you for watching. As always, if you haven't subscribed, you go ahead and do so. Plenty of other gaming content on the channel, as well as lots of Guild Wars 2 content already on the channel, as well as coming up. That's pretty much it. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching. I hope that this video helped you out in any way. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. It'll really help me out. If you didn't like it, you can leave a comment below as well and give some feedback. If you have any other comments or questions, please leave them in the comments as well. And I usually try my best to answer those comments within the next 24 to 48 hours, depending on how busy I am. I also have plenty of other content on my channel about different gaming tutorials, as well as general gaming videos for Guild Wars 2, League of Legends, Minecraft, and any others that you may be interested in. So if you're interested in that type of stuff, check it out. And if you like what you see, you can subscribe too. Would really appreciate it. You can also check out my other channels and social medias as shown on the screen right now. And with that, thank you so much, everyone. And this is GSmaniamsmart, and I'll be back sooner than you think. Don't go anywhere.